I got a bunch of city staff that'll be working on this project joining. And I guess it's just you right now, John. So I'll start this. This presentation is a Street and Utility Reconstruction Project, the 2021 Street and Utility Reconstruction Project. And this is a resident info meeting. We hold these meetings every year for our residents. Great opportunity to get feedback from you on the projects that we're proposing to the City Council, to learn about your property, and for you to understand why, what we're doing, and the impacts to your property as we move forward with this project. This is, as I was talking to you just before the meeting, a capital improvement program project. So this has been identified for several years in the city's capital improvement projects list. And we do this to take care of our aging streets and infrastructure. With that said, this project was pushed back. It was originally slated for construction in 2020. The adjacent development, the River Bluffs, Shakopee Flats Apartments, started their process of getting approvals, and it became apparent that there was going to be some coordination necessary between the two projects. So we asked City Council to delay this portion of the project to 2021 to accommodate that construction. So the proposed project location, the original CIP included all of Scott Street from 2nd to 1st. It also included Atwood Street from 1st Avenue or County Road 69 up to Levy Drive, Fuller Street from 1st Avenue up to Levy Drive, and Levy Drive from Scott Street just past the Home Street Bridge and before that parking lot on the east end. This CIP project has been amended. We are not going to be reconstructing Scott Street from 1st Avenue to Levy Drive, Levy from Scott to Atwood, or Atwood from 1st to 2nd. Those will be constructed as part of the River Bluff development. The Scott County, or the City of Shakopee, the EDA, Economic Development Authority, has entered into a developer's agreement with that developer. And as part of that, they will be doing those public improvements. We are coordinating that effort with the city and the developer. So what do we have for infrastructure out there? Scott Street, this is from 2nd to 1st Avenue. Right now it's 45 feet wide, asphalt roadway. From the picture you can see heavily cracked, alligator cracked. It's a relatively flat street. The north half of the block up above here has concrete curb and gutter. The south half does not, leaving us with very wide roadways. You can see mud and other stuff being tracked out into the street here. There's a 4-inch ductile iron pipe under the roadway that serves as the water main. That's outdated. There's an 8-inch PVC sanitary sewer stub that starts at 1st Avenue or County Road 69 and runs about 60 feet south. It only serves the landscape company up at the intersection. This roadway was constructed in 1967 and things have deteriorated significantly here. So the proposed conditions for Scott Street, we're looking to reconstruct the roadway, 4 inches of asphalt, 8-inch class 5 aggregate base with the subsoils will generally give us a 9-ton design. We're looking at adding some parallel parking on the east side on the north half of the block near the residential property, and diagonal parking on the south half of the block for the depot and adjacent businesses. This is 1 block off of our central business district. We'll extend curb and gutter through the entire project area down to the railroad, and Shakopee Public Utilities has asked us to upgrade the water main to an 8-inch ductile iron main, which will require directional drilling or jacking underneath of the railroad crossing at 2nd Avenue. No additional sanitary sewer or streetlight improvements are proposed for this project area. Some dimensions. Generally, the road is got 2 13-foot lanes and then a 10-foot parking shoulder on the west side. We've got the parallel parking spots as well as those diagonal spots included for this block of roadway. On Levy Drive, here are the pictures for that. We've got, right now, it's 27 feet back to back, 26 face to face, bituminous roadway. The west half is generally flat, slopes pretty good on the east half. It's got concrete curb and gutter, and it does have a storm sewer pipe system that drains it, most of it directly to the Minnesota River. Along the east or the north side of Levy Drive, there is also a DNR bituminous bike path. And there's no sanitary sewer main in the roadway. The two apartment buildings, including yours at 200 Levy Drive, John, have sanitary sewer services that run directly across the roadway. And one of them empties into a manhole on the River District line. There's a trunk sanitary sewer along the river. This roadway generally was built around 1967. You can see from the pictures, things have deteriorated significantly. There's areas of curb where we can't even get drainage to the structures. Lots of cracking and deterioration. So proposed conditions for this roadway. It's a little picture for you here. We're going to reconstruct this similar standard, a 4-inch bituminous asphalt surface with that 8 inches of Class 5 aggregate. We are proposing to add parallel parking on the north side of Levy Drive, so opposite the apartment building that you have, as well as another block east of there. Part of this is the parking is being added for your business, the adjacent apartment to the west that is being constructed. And then we're setting this area up for some additional parking as the park's master plan develops. There's redevelopment opportunity for Huber Park and this parking lot on the east end of Levy Drive, and so that'll accommodate the parking there. We're going to install a concrete 5-foot concrete sidewalk along the back of Levy Drive. With that parking adjacent, we want people to be able to get out of their cars and connect to the city sidewalk and trail system. And then we do have to reconstruct a small portion of the DNR trail due to the street grades as well. We're going to put a couple extra catch basins in the area to accommodate the additional impervious surfaces that we're adding to pick up the water. We'll be doing upgrades of all the ADA facilities, all the sidewalk, all the ped ramps will be upgraded to make sure that we meet our ADA criteria. And we're proposing to install 2 streetlights for new parking spaces. I think there's one kind of in the gazebo area and one somewhere down on this portion of Levy Drive. No sanitary sewer or water main improvements are needed in this block or are proposed. Here's some dimensions for you. We're looking at 26 feet face to face. So you've got 2 13-foot drive lanes. We would have those parallel parking spots on the north side of Levy Drive. Fuller Street, I'll be talking about in just a second, but remains at the 45 feet wide at the county road because of the turn lanes and to line it up with the other side of the intersection. Once you get past the 2 driveways and kind of where the alley is, we taper down to about 41 feet wide, maintaining lanes for that roadway. And this does show the bituminous alley as well. I'll speak to that in a moment. So Fuller Street is 45 feet wide. Oops, I'm gonna go back one. Bituminous asphalt roadway. It was built in about 3 different pieces and upgraded. I think the last time was 1994. The extension to the county road was actually constructed in 2004. And then there was digging into this roadway around 1980 when your apartment building went in as well for some of the water main and some of the storm structures were upgraded. There is a 5-foot sidewalk on the east side that extends the entire length. And there is a sidewalk that starts at 101 and runs down the west side of the roadway down to the alley, halfway down that block. There's an 8-inch ductile iron pipe down the road. There's no sanitary sewer main under this roadway, and the adjacent properties are all served via the sanitary sewer trunk line by the river. There is, it's not mentioned here, but there is also a 60-inch arched pipe running right down the center of the road that serves as drainage, a trunk line for much of the downtown area of Shakopee. So our proposed conditions, 4-inch asphalt, 8 inches of Class 5 aggregate base will get us to that 9-ton design. We'll upgrade the existing storm sewer block manholes. There's a couple of old manholes that still remain, and due to street narrowing, we'll reconstruct one of those near the intersection of Levy Drive as well. There's no sanitary sewer, water main, or street lighting improvements proposed along this block. The alley between Atwood Street and Fuller, adjacent to your property, there has, it's currently, it varies between 12 and 14 feet. On average, it's 13 feet wide. Generally flat, there's no curb and gutter. There are storm sewer catch basins on each end of the alley that capture the surface water from that alley. Shakopee Public Utilities does have a 8-inch ductile water main under the alley, and that was constructed around 1980, is in pretty good condition. There's no sanitary sewer under this alley. The adjacent properties, again, are served via that sewer trunk line by the river. And this was constructed in 1980 when the water main went in. From the pictures, if you visit the site, you can see that the roadways into that alley is in tough shape. So our proposed conditions for this, we're going to do a full depth reclamation, proposing to basically grind the existing asphalt surface into the aggregate below, and then to essentially pave a new 4-inch bituminous asphalt surface over the top of this. There are no sanitary sewer, water main, or street lighting improvements proposed for this alley. So you mentioned the River Bluff development, which will be coming in adjacent to you at Atwood, Levy, and Scott, encircled by this block. This is just a little picture and kind of a depiction of what is tentatively planned and seeking further approval from City Council to move forward with. The apartment building is under construction. They've probably got about 80% of their footings in place right now. And we're working with the developer to refine and finalize the construction plans for the roadway elements. And I can come back to that. We're looking at, on Atwood Street, we'll have diagonal parking on the west side. I've got some parallel parking on the east side, a little bit more diagonal on the east side, excuse me. And then Levy Drive on the north side, again, we'll have diagonal parking, so increasing the parking throughout all of these areas. We'll have that concrete sidewalk running back behind there, and that'll tie into the trail, the DNR trail system, and provide connectivity for everybody in the area. Scott Street, trying to maintain as much of the parking for the adjacent businesses and understanding there'll be demand from the apartment and the restaurant. The restaurant's proposed to be in this northeast corner of the facility. I can go back one here. It's like 2 levels of townhouse style houses up against Levy Drive, apartments for the rest of it. They do have underground parking for their residents. And then there's some attached townhouse style in a separate building up along 101 that will be constructed as well. Couple levels for that restaurant with lookout over the Minnesota River there. So what does this look like for you guys? We take care of everything. We'll do the construction. Clearly pipes, utilities get dug in first. We start doing the street reconstruction. We'll take care of pretty much everything, putting things back together the way that they had been originally constructed into newer or same condition or better. These are some pictures of just past reconstruction projects showing that everything's tied in. We'll restore driveways to matching conditions. If it's concrete, you'll get concrete back. If you have pavement, you get pavement back. Everything will be sodded, restored with 6 inches of topsoil. Sod will take care of getting it to grow. Warranty period that goes with all of this. With that said, these reconstruction projects, there are inconveniences just in the inherent nature of doing construction. There's trenches that need to be dug for those pipes. Anywhere where this area, there's a lot of bedrock. So some of that pipe excavation could be slow to remove the bedrock. So while they're digging, there's disruption. Concrete always poses a significant issue that access, when we pour the concrete, we need roughly 5 days to stay off that concrete to allow it to cure and harden, and such elements as like the paving. Sometimes these projects are dusty, they're dirty, they can be muddy if we get a lot of rain. We have staff on site that work to mitigate all these issues and work with you. And throughout the project, we'll be talking to you, providing you newsletters, website updates. There's even a sign up, an update. Excuse me, I gotta go back a couple here. There's even a city sign up email blast system that you can sign up for our weekly updates. And as we know more information, we pump that information out to you guys as well. We'll make sure you have our resident project inspector on the site, that you'll have all their contact information as well as emergency and contractor information along the way. So what are we looking at for costs here? Probably the question that everybody's looking at, right? So the total improvement cost is right around $971,000. That's all engineering, administration, and construction costs. The street portion, including the street lighting, is about $736,000 of that. About $108,000 is storm sewer. There's about $10,000 in sanitary sewer work, and about $117,000 in water main SPUC related items. Now, with all of these street reconstructions, the city has a special assessment policy that has been determined by the city of Shakopee, the city council. And this policy has been in place for a long time and very consistent administration of this. We assess 30% of just the street improvements to the adjacent properties. So sanitary sewer is paid for out of a sanitary sewer fund. Water main is paid for by Shakopee Public Utilities. Storm sewer is paid out of a storm sewer fund. So you're just paying for basically like the curb and gutter, the bituminous asphalt, rock, sod, the restoration elements at the surface. There's some notable stuff in here. So all the lots in this project area are proposed to be assessed on a front footage basis. But with that said, there's some exclusions. On Scott Street, I have one single family residential property at 336 First Avenue. Consistent with all of our other projects, we assess those, even though the long side of their property is 142 feet and it faces our project, they'll be assessed on a 60-foot lot equivalent basis, like all the other residential properties in town. The other 82 feet will be proposed to be paid by the Capital Improvement Fund that will not be assessed. The north half of Levy Drive is not proposed to be assessed. That north half, the sidewalk and the trail, all of that work will be done on paid by the Capital Improvement Fund. On the west half of Fuller Street, just south of that alley, there is an adjacent city lot parking lot, and the portion of street adjacent to that lot will also not be assessed. And then I mentioned that the trail and any street oversizing. So per the policy, anytime we get over 37 feet wide, we do not assess those. That is picked up by the Capital Improvement Fund. And no corner lot adjustments will be made on this project. The other assessment that I do have here is an alley assessment. So a past practice, where the alleys are improved, and they also get assessed for 30% of the assessable alley improvements. And then same thing here, we're proposing to assess these properties on a front footage basis. And you'll see here a portion of the south half of the alley is adjacent to that same city parking lot, and that portion of the alley will not be assessed. That will be picked up by the Capital Improvement Fund. So with that, here's an assessment rate table. I think I skipped over the last one, excuse me. There's a total of $137,000 that is accessible, directly to the properties, the adjacent properties, and that works out to be about $103 per linear foot of front footage. And then for the alley, much narrower, no curb and gutter, all of the above, that's a much lesser cost. There's about $5,000 in accessible costs for that alley, and it's about $12 additional per foot for that. This does show an assessment map and how we're assessing this project. So on Scott Street, those in pink are all being assessed on a front footage basis. This blue lot is the 60-foot residential equivalent, and everybody else is being assessed on a front footage basis around here. The city portion, these are being picked up by the Capital Improvement Fund. The north half of Levy, of course, is. The crosshatch that you see are the lots that are proposed to be assessed with the alley assessment. So the two residential properties abutting First Avenue will pay for their portion of the alley, and then your apartment building is proposed on the other. A special note, typically if we were to reconstruct Atwood, Scott, and Levy Drive around the River Bluffs development, you'd be assessed for a portion of that project as well. However, similar to what we've done in other projects, when developers come in, this particular project received a tax increment financing district for this project. And a portion of those TIF funds will be used to offset the assessment costs. And the developer is picking up the half of his, the street that would be assessed as part of his development cost as well. So your property, John, would not be assessed for Atwood Street at this time. 40 years from now, if that road ever gets rebuilt, then you would be assessed. Similarly, for the residential properties, they will not be assessed for their portion of Atwood Street. So the schedule for the project, City Council received the feasibility report Tuesday night, February 4th or 2nd, excuse me. We're holding this public, oh, I got a wrong date there. My bad. We're going to be going to the City Council for the public hearing actually on February 16th. We'll be shortly after advertising for bids, and we'll get this out for bids, and we'll open those up around March 30th. City Council will consider the award of the contract around April, with construction starting sometime in May, typically mid to late May. Project would be expected to be completed by September. And then this fall, in October and November, City Council will bring this back to actually assess the project. So we'll hold a public hearing at that time. And with that, that's about all I have. I can open this up for questions or concerns or any other information that you would like to share.
Well, I have a question on your questionnaire. You asked if we have drain tile. Now, is that the sewer line that's made out of tile? Is that what you're asking about?
Specifically, it's for stormwater. So if people had like some pumps in their basement and that's pumping water up to the surface and out to the street, that's what we're specifically looking for to be able to pick up that water.
All right. So that doesn't apply to us. But if we have a sewer pipe going from the building and across Levy Drive into that storm sewer line down below on the north side.
Yep.
One problem with that line could be that we have it's made out of tile. It could be,
Is it clay tile pipe?
Clay tile, yeah.
Okay.
And so we had an issue once before with some material snagging that line.
Okay.
And so I was asking myself if it would be maybe the time to have someone come in and put in a different kind of material for that line, so that we don't have the clay tile.
So here's where we're at with this, John. The full feasibility report makes recommendation to replace the portion of your sanitary sewer service that is underneath of Levy Drive. As of today, I think I just received a flash drive. We actually had a contractor come in and televise your sewer line from the main down by the river all the way as far as he could go. So I'm going to be reviewing that and seeing what kind of condition and making a recommendation. We have some money in the budget to replace your sanitary sewer line underneath of Levy Drive. Realistically, we'd probably only be able to take it up to the sidewalk on the north side of your building. We wouldn't want to take it any further, getting into your private property or knocking out retaining walls and the other infrastructure that you have. We could install a clean out at that location. And there are services that if that's something in the future, the city's done cured in place lining projects where they can do lateral lining from clean outs like this and can actually line your sewer service going the rest of the way up to your house or up to the property.
Could we request that in this instance and just have it done?
With public improvements, because of the public monies that are being used I would have to secure, we typically don't do it. We ask that it's done as a private contract between you and whichever company of your choosing. We can certainly accommodate it with the construction and try and time things for you so that, you know, if you know that you have a contractor that wants to do it, we'll do whatever we can to facilitate that. But because of the legalities of the cities and the city contractor stepping on your property, I'd have to have right of entry agreements, compensation, waiver of assessment and appeals, things like that to make that happen.
So can we work with the same contractor and give them a separate contract for that?
That is something that some contractors will readily do that and will accept that work and will give you a quote and you work out a private deal. Others sometimes will say, we're just not that interested in doing it. Unfortunately, we have to do we have to go out for a public bid on this project. So we don't ever get to just choose the contractor of our own choice. We have to use the lowest responsive bidder. So at the time of the bid, I can forward their information on to you and we can see if that works and if they're willing to do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
I would say, you know, just to open dig, like trench dig it open, our contractor would probably be able to do that. That lateral lining where they actually just put like a new PVC liner inside of your existing pipe, that's a very specialized project that our contractor likely wouldn't be able to do. Just kind of drawing a couple distinctions there. And then what I was getting to as well is we would replace the section under Levee Drive, but once we get kind of to the DNR trail and further north, we wouldn't be proposing to reconstruct the rest of the pipe at this time.
All right. Okay.
And in Shakopee, like most communities, you do own your sewer service from the front of your building to the connection at the main. I know this one's a little bit unique in that it runs further. So something that we can discuss further. The one other thing that I would propose to you is in your parking lot, on the north end of your parking lot, right now you have two concrete flumes that kind of drain the stormwater. The city would like to remove those. And that is one of those things that it is on your property. And if you're okay with that and willing to sign a right of entry, we would be willing to put a catch basin in there to collect that water in a centralized location and to get rid of those concrete flumes.
That's great. That's fine with me.
That's something I'd like to get your contact information and then we can reach out to you to discuss that further. And I can get you whatever kind of agreements that we need for doing that work.
Okay. Now in the alley itself, I had talked to someone with the city and I was asking about those electrical poles there. They're kind of detracting from our building.
Yep.
And I know it's not part of this project, but we were wondering if it's, you know, if we're willing to share some of the cost of doing an underground electrical line here, because if we repave the alley now,
it would be nice to have that out of there. I absolutely agree. So we brought that point up with Shakopee Public Utilities, whose line that is, and they were open to undergrounding that facility. They are putting in a duct bank on the north side of Levee Drive for those poles that run along the river as well. So a lot of that circuit, the overhead that's by the river, will be coming down. It's independent of our project, but that's something that they'll be doing concurrently. So as they're doing that, they discussed that they could possibly take down a portion of the ones by your building. The one hang-up that they had with undergrounding the entire system is that the two residential properties on the screen that have the blue hatch, those two properties both have aerial feed. So it's coming off the poles and it stays aerial and then it's converted to their house. And if you go underground, they would have to hire an electrician at their own cost to convert their electric service from overhead to underground. It's a slightly different thing. I don't think that's a huge cost. It may only be like $1,500 to $2,000 to do that, but sometimes you have different interests, right? So if it's something that we get to a point where those are the only two properties and they absolutely don't want to pay for that, Spuck would have to leave up a portion and then they could possibly underground the rest. You
Well,
know,
I'm willing to,
you see where I'm going with it. If you
yeah,
help out
absolutely. Well, I'm
and we're willing
share-
to,
yeah,
maybe they would do that.
yeah, I'm willing to share in the cost of that.
Gosh, because that would be fantastic. I mean, and we're interested in that as well, right? You know, the restaurant that's going to be on the corner of this apartment building, there may be additional use of that city lot in the future. Levy drive, we're
Right.
making all these improvements. It's really going to beautify this area. It would be fantastic. So we can
Yeah.
push ahead and get you in contact with them to discuss that
Yeah,
further
okay.
too.
Okay, and one last question here. Going way back to the time that the Levy Drive apartments were built, there was a redevelopment agreement with the city. And it's a tax increment district.
Okay.
And at that time, the city was to create a bridge, believe it or not, across the highway so that our tenants would not have to cross the First Avenue.
So you're
And
saying a bridge
there
somehow.
was a bridge, yeah, that was part of the agreement. It was never done by the city. But it was part of the agreement that I made with the city of Shakopee. And it was never fulfilled.
So I would say this, John, if you have any of that, like I said, I'd like to exchange contact information here in a bit. I can check into that. I'm totally not aware of any of that.
Yeah,
You know, the only thing I could kind of, it doesn't get your people across directly. There is that tunnel underneath of 101, and maybe that was considered the quote bridge.
no, actually, this is a pedestrian bridge above the street, above the.
Yeah, I'd never
highway.
even heard of that.
And,
I believe you.
That was, yeah, I'm just mentioning it, but,
Mhm.
you know, I just thought of it the other day when I got your information here. But that was part of the redevelopment agreement. And a lot of people have asked me about that at the time. And I said, well, the city will eventually get to it, but they never did. But it was never done.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've never actually heard about it. I started here probably around 98 or so,
Yeah,
but never was even aware. If you have something on it, send it over to me and I can forward that to kind of the bosses for further discussion, or we can take a look at that. I didn't know that. I would say right now we have nothing in our capital improvement project or,
yeah. It's gonna be
plan.
very expensive. I think that at the time, when I was before the city council,
Mhm.
they insisted on it. It was not me. They insisted on it, and it was part of the agreement. And I think there was at that time a cost of over $100,000.
Gosh, now you're talking a couple $1 million.
Yeah, it was a huge cost.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, you know, but I think I don't know what happened here with the former city administrator. Was, you know, going back to that time.
Gotcha.
But I remember the mayor being very insistent at the time and that we incorporate all this. And there was a lot of seniors at the city council meeting.
Yeah,
Anyway.
understood. I'm interested to see it. I like the old history and some of that, learning about that. We can look into it and possibly, maybe there was other discussion or other council items related to it.
Yeah.
I really don't know. So I'll follow up on that for you.
Okay.
Yep.
And we have some documents too that I can get out of storage. But please understand, I'm not insisting on the work be done because I think that'd be a really burden for the city.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's really necessary. But that's.
Well, it should be considered and at least thought about, right? So.
Yeah, right.
All right. Any other questions, thoughts, concerns?
No, not for me, no.
Okay. That's really all I have for you. And Let me grab an email address for you, John.
That's John, JOHN _B at Bergstad, BERGSTAD.com.
Perfect. I'll shoot you an email and reach out to you. And then if you have any questions, concerns, you can send me some documentation on that other stuff. That'd be great.
Sure. All right, will do.
Public hearings on the 16th. If you would like to be, you can watch it online on the city's website. If you'd like comments, you can certainly email anything to me and I can send that to the council. Or you can show up and discuss the project with them yourself if you'd like. All available options.
Well, I'll probably stay with the Zoom.
Gotcha. Understood. Well, thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right, I'm gonna push stop recording.